Sureshi is an ugly loner who is ignored by everyone, except for a hot, purple-haired, popular girl, which makes things take an unexpected turn as everyone starts noticing him, and he begins to take charge of his life. However, everything changes when he is asked out by the popular girl. Before this, Shirashi, a loner with zero riz, is a teenager with an incredibly low spiritual presence, practically invisible to everyone around him. He'd come to accept his role as a background character in his own life story. One day as he sat in class, a hot and popular baddie named Kubo Nagiza suddenly appeared before him and began taking pictures of him. Shirashi couldn't help but feel irritated by this intrusion, especially since only his family had been able to see him before. It was now his popular classmate, Kubo, who could see him. Shirashi believed that Kubo's presence was worlds apart from his due to her popularity. However, Kubo seemed to take delight in teasing him and was intrigued by his invisibility. She frequently tested the limits of how invisible he could be. She even dared him to stand on a desk his invisibility. But her antics caught the attention of the teacher and the entire class. I'm in the chaos. Kubo's friend called her to their next class, and they left Shirashi behind. Later, Kubo and her friends discussed Shirashi extensively on their way home. The following day, Kubo sought out Shiroishi again and boldly sat on Bro's lap during class, confident that nobody would notice. Shiroishi was surprised and shy about the situation, but was amazed when no one in the class seemed to notice Kubo sitting on him. As they remained in class, Kubo made Shirashi stand and answer a question when she raised her hand. This drew surprised reactions from many students, when even realized Shirashi was present. Due to his usual invisibility, Shirashi found himself struggling to determine whether was Kubo, a friend, a bully, or simply using him for her amusement. Meanwhile, Kubo attempted to obtain Shirashi's phone number, but was consistently interrupted by her friends, who couldn't see Shirashi's presence. During the weekend, Kubo spotted Shirashi in the park and attempted to take a selfie with him. However, her camera couldn't recognize his face, so she had to almost sit on him again to capture the picture. Eventually, she managed to get his phone number. Later that night, Shirishi reflected on the day's events, particularly the selfie and phone number exchange. To his surprise, he received a text from Kubo, and being unused to texting people, he was taken aback when she asked if they could hang out sometime. Shirashi agreed, but Kubo's older sister noticed Kubo's happiness immediately after she had taken a bath. Shirashi, Kubo, and other students went to the gym. Consequently, Shirishi complained about feeling tired. He met Kubo in the corridor, who gave him a scented towel, and secretly relished the fact that now smelled identical. Suddenly, amid their Kubo's friend called her, prompting her to head over to her friends. Kubo's friends were surprised by how happy she seemed, as she simply smirked in response. Later, at Shirashi's house, he bid farewell to his mother and went shopping for manga. However, upon reaching the manga shop, the automatic door failed to detect him passing by. Kubo noticed the issue and assisted him by opening the door. Upon seeing his favorite manga series, Kubo asked if she could borrow them, and Sureshi agreed. Kubo then requested that he bring them to school. The following day, after obtaining the manga, Kubo realized that their homes were only 5 minutes apart and suggested they walk to school together. The two proceeded, and upon reaching Kubo's house, Shiroishi gave her some manga. The next morning, Kubo woke up early to meet Shiroishi, and she used her sister's hairspray. However, as she had breakfast, her sister Akina noticed Kubo was wearing perfume and teased her about trying to get culture and also wishing her luck. Kubo was a bit flustered but continued to school. Upon finally meeting Shiroishi after a long wait, Kubo was mildly disappointed when he didn't notice the perfume. Nevertheless, they continued, with Shirishi pondering that it was his first time walking to school with a classmate. Meanwhile, they found a bench to wait. Since they still had time, when they sat down, Kubo's friends Suzuki and arrived and greeted her. However, they didn't notice Shirashi until Kubo pointed him out, and once she did, they finally noticed him. The 4 of them then proceeded to school. After school, Shirashi's invisibility led to a car, splashing him with needing a shower. He returned home but had lost his key. Kubo kindly invited him to shower at her house, and though he wasn't thrilled with the idea, he agreed. Shirashi awkwardly accepted, but Kubo felt embarrassed when he spotted her bra in the laundry. After their showers, Kubo borrowed her gym tracksuit, and Sureshi thanked her for letting him use her bathroom and swimsuit. Before departing, Kubo noticed that Shirishi's hair was still wet, so she advised him to dry it before leaving, to which he agreed. Afterwards, they said their goodbyes, and Shirishi walked home, hyper aware that he was wearing Kubo's clothes. Shirishi gave Kubo's tracksuit back, and that's when Kubo learned that Shirishi was only 1 inch taller than her. She teased him, mentioning that in couples, the boy is generally 6 inches taller. It was almost the end of the semester, and Shirashi, Kubo, and the other students were in class, submitting their test to their teacher, Mr. Unzin Sensei. After the test, Shirashi said goodbye to Kubo, mentioning that he had some plans to attend to. Meanwhile, on her desk, Kubo's friend, Tama and Azuki, showed up to ask her how the test went. Later, after school, Shiroishi was with his younger brother Sita. A certain woman appeared, thinking that the baby was alone due to Shiroishi's invisibility. But he quickly showed up and informed the woman that the baby was with him. Kubo suddenly spotted Shiroishi at the park with his much younger brother, Sita. She approached him, carrying a drink in her hands. Sita insisted that they all share a drink, though Kubo noticed that Shiroishi only pretended to drink and correctly guessed that he was embarrassed by the indirect kiss. Later that night, Sureishi was reading his manga. Since it was cold, after some time, he went to the convenience store to buy manga poster. However, at the store, Sureishi was embarrassed as the magazine containing the poster had a bikini model on the cover. Suddenly Akina, who is Kubo's sister and an employee at the store, appeared. She immediately told him the magazine he was for adults. Sureishi pointed out that he was putting it back since someone else left it. So Akina sold it to him but had no idea he was Kubo's friend. Shirashi was shocked that Akina could see him. After buying it, he said goodbye to her and left. However, Akina noticed that he had dropped his student ID. When Akina returned home, she gave the ID to Kubo to return it, commenting that he had bought a magazine with images of huge melons. This surprised Kubo, who had medium-sized melons herself. She asked Shiroishi if he preferred large breasts and covered her embarrassment by teasing him. Kubo arranged to spend Christmas Eve with Shiroishi shopping. Upon arriving, Kubo revealed that she had bought him a gift. Shiroishi rushed to buy her one, choosing gloves that matched her outfit. Kubo felt embarrassed by what she had bought him, a bright yellow main character shirt to make him easier to see. Shiroishi was having fun with Sita when something surprising happened. Out of nowhere, Kubo showed up and disrupted their playtime. Shirashi was just goofing around, and Kubo started recording a video, capturing Shirashi's embarrassment without holding back. The next day of school, something strange happened between Shiraishi and Kubo. Shiraishi accidentally wore 2 different socks, but only Kubo noticed. In return, Kubo was wearing tights because her socks were still wet the day before. Shirashi couldn't help but stare at her for a bit too long, and Kubo teased him with a playful smile. During class, during their boring homework session, Shirashi noticed that Kubo's behavior had changed a bit, making him curious. After school, Kubo invited Shiraishi to a nearby store to try fancy drink, saying she wanted his help to avoid any mistakes with the order. Shiraishi was unsure for a moment, tempted by the idea of somehow indirectly being cultured, yet Kubo, with a sly grin, decided to take a bite from Shiraishi's snack before departing, leaving him pondering whether to embrace this newfound connection or his shoot. Just as he wavered in contemplation, an unforeseen collision disrupted his thoughts, causing him to clumsily drop his snack. An incident that went unnoticed by the 2 girls who inadvertently jostled him, seemingly oblivious to his presence, perpetuating his peculiar invisibility. On Valentine's Day, Shiraishi didn't expect much. He felt like he was not ripped enough. Yet an unexpected discovery awaited him at his desk. A solitary chocolate heart placed with an air of ambiguity that led him instinctively dismiss it as in misplaced confection. An enigmatic notion nagged at his thoughts, causing him to wonder if Kubo might be the enigmatic benefactor. In a timely twist of fate, Kugo materialized by Nasib, and Shiraishi grappled with a challenge articulating his skepticism regarding the improbable notion of someone gifting him Valentine's chocolate. With bated breath, he dared not consider anyone would extend such a gesture toward him. Kubo, however, astutely detected the concealed chocolate beneath his desk and swiftly attributed it to a concealed secret admirer, thereby shrouding Shirashi in bewildering speculation about the identity of this clandestine devote. Later, within the confines of her own home, Kubo harbored a culinary ambition that diverged from her typical pursuits. Armed with bags of ingredients, she aspired to embark on culinary endeavor. Knowing why her reputation as a notoriously inept cook, she had devoted an entire night to the meticulous crafting of heart-shaped chocolate. Even enlisting Aquina's assistance, though the prospect of facing Aquina's teasing remained an inevitable consequence. Shirashi liked the carefully made chocolate heart. The mystery of its origin continued to confound him, leaving him genuinely perplexed about the elusive identity the one who had bestowed this heartfelt gesture upon him. Shirashi had acquired his lunch and chose to dine outdoors, a departure from his usual solitary lunch routine. Just as he was about to begin his meal,